No laughing.
Here we go.
Jeez.
Are you laughing or hyperventilating?
Yes.
Every time this happens.
Not every time.
Not every time. Hey tubers, welcome back to the couch. We're the Couch Potatoes. We're a family that gets together, watches movies and TV shows, and then discusses what we just watched.
Yes. We do things a little bit differently today. We actually just finished watching it, which was my pick, which is continuing off with Made in Abyss, Wandering Twighlight, which is effectively the second half of the first season.
You want to say what platform we used?
Oh, yes. We watched it on High Dive, so we were able to watch it dubbed. You do have to pay to be able to stream on that one, though. But it is relatively cheap, actually. Not sponsored, not affiliated. Just it's alright. But yeah. So we were actually able to watch it dubbed this time. Last time when we watched some Wandering Dawn, I believe it was called. That one was sub. So actually now we can actually discuss dub versus sub.
I don't know about that. We just got to get through this one first.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway,
So let's start with first impressions. What do you guys think of this one? What is it? This episode or
It's
part two?
Install. Well,
Yeah.
actually, we should probably describe. We should actually probably describe what.
Yeah, give it.
Yeah. So
you give us a synopsis.
So previously in the first part of Made in Abyss, we meet our main characters Rico and Reg. Rico is an orphan whose mother is a white whistle, the highest tier of cave divers in this world, and she lives in a town called Orf, which borders itself around this thing known as the Abyss, this giant pit in a world where every single known thing has every corner of the world has been discovered. It has been thoroughly explored and discovered, with the exception of the Abyss. And so she ends up finding this relic known as an Obod, who she names Reg, who has lost his memories. And together they go and try to find Rico's mother within the bottom of the Neverworld, as she sent a message up telling her that she is waiting for her down there. How exactly the Abyss works is that you can go down just fine, however, going up will lead you into what's
Wait, going down just fine? From what I see, no, it's not going down just fine. We'll get to that in a minute.
Some issues
Yeah.
going down.
Well, going up exposes you to the strains of ascension, which leads to what is known as the Curse of the Abyss. Within each of these 7 layers, essentially think of it as altitude sickness, but worse. But within each of them, the symptoms of it get progressively worse. Going up from the first layer to the surface will have mild dizziness and nausea. Second layer up will be extreme dizziness and nausea. Third layer and up will be visual and auditory hallucinations. Fourth layer and up is bleeding from every orifice in the body. Fifth is numbness of the entire body. Sixth is loss of humanity, and 7th is loss of life.
And this episode or movie is the 6th layer.
No, it is the 4th.
4th layer.
We I wasn't actually expecting it, so there is. So for anyone who is wanting to watch it, there is a gore warning, pretty much in the first 20 minutes. I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking that we were going to get the 3rd layer, but they completely skipped over it, which I find interesting. So because in the show, they do actually end up going through the 3rd layer, and due to Reg's ability known as the Incinerator, he passes out, leaving Rico vulnerable. And she has this hallucination of her mother coming to get her and taking her back up to the surface, but leaving Reg behind. And in that, she essentially powers through it by essentially saying, no, I need Reg with me or else I will die. Foreshadowing.
A little bit.
But anyway, so I do find it interesting they did kind of cut that out, but I can't understand it for time. It just kind of provides like a little bit of insight into Riko's character and more specifically how she views her mom. But anyway, it's not necessarily important to understand what happens in the movie. So
Can we start talking about this movie then?
yes, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So
That's alright.
so within this installment, they leave the second layer of the Abyss and the Seeker camp from when we left off in the first one and go down into the third and fourth layers. From there, things only proceed to kind of get really dicey for them when they end up running into a monster known as an Orb Piercer, which is a very dangerous monster that has the abilities to shoot out poison quills. And unfortunately, while they're fighting, Riko ends up getting hit by one of them in her hand. Because of that, Red decides that the only way that they're going to be able to escape, because of how perceptive the Orb Piercer is, they have to go up. And unfortunately, that triggers these strains of ascension, which is bleeding from every orifice in the body, which is not good. So while most of the poison is forced out, she is unfortunately just bleeding very heavily, and in her confused and dazed state, because of the fact that her hand is so mangled, because Reg did like an improv tourniquet to attempt to halt the poison from entering into the rest of her body, she tells him he has to cut off her hand. This is the worst scene, in my opinion, in Made in Abyss in terms of gore. It is probably the hardest one to get for its episode 10, in case you're watching for the series. It's not the worst thing to happen to a character, hi Krushka, or the worst thing to happen to a child, hi Erin Mealy, in the series, but it is the worst one in terms of gore, so do be warned of that, that is a thing. But anyway, while Reg is desperately trying to figure out how exactly to deal with this and follow Riko's suggestions on how exactly he is supposed to amputate her hand, she falls unconscious, and then they meet a hollow by the name of Nanachi, who ends up rescuing them. And throughout there, Nanachi and Reg help nurse Riko back to health. Nanachi opens up to Reg about her past, which includes another White Whistle by the name of Bronzerood, who resides in the fifth layer of the Abyss, and what exactly happened with her and her friend Mitty that she had with her, who is also a hollow. And from there, it just kind of goes, and yeah.
So with that, what did everybody think of this movie? What was your reaction?
Very emotional.
For me, it was full of, the whole thing was moral dilemmas.
Yes, essentially.
So you get the moral dilemma of cutting off somebody's arm. Can you go through with it? Can you do it?
Yeah.
Save their life.
If you had to save someone's life?
I don't know, I hope so. I can't promise you that.
Thank you.
I agree with that there. I can't promise that.
And then there's the
That
other
would be
moral
hard.
dilemma of killing somebody's
of
best friend?
of essentially mercy killing.
Yeah.
Because Nanachi, because Nanachi's friend Mitty is immortal and unkillable, essentially. Every time that she dies, she regenerates. And because of Reg's incinerator, Nanachi asks Reg to help kill Mitty for her because she knows that Mitty is in pain and suffering, and she doesn't want it to continue.
And every time Mitty comes back, she loses more and more of her former self.
Her humanity.
Yes.
And Mitty, by the way, is a blob. Like,
At this point, yes.
literal blob with teeth in one eye. So, she doesn't look like she's in good shape.
Yeah.
Alright, so... Sorry, I'm trying to think of... I struggle with the animes. And
And Tipper, you didn't see the entire scene.
Which was good, because I don't think I made the gore part.
I mean, again, you probably heard the screaming.
Yeah, I think this was better than the first half, the first one.
Yeah, which is why I kept mentioning to you, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be a total monkey's paw situation for you guys, because you guys are, like, because in, like, the first part, they're like, I wish more stuff was happening. Here you go! This show is a slow burn.
Yeah, there was a lot to unpack with the parts that I saw. There was a lot to unpack. I did think this was a better episode than the last one. I thought there was a lot of emotion. What did you all think? Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't want to stick with
That's okay.
the guy with the slit down
Gertrude?
Yes. Moral dilemma's there. I mean, he's just sending kids down this hole, not knowing what's going to really happen, but he don't seem to care.
Well, it's not that he doesn't care. He loves all of his children equally.
Yeah, okay.
But in a very twisted way. Because again, remember, he is keeping an eye on all of them. He is seeing how they're all doing. So the thing is that he has no real morality for humanity as, like, individuals. Gertrude's main objective is to figure out what exactly the Abyss is and study it and see, essentially, safer ways to get through the Abyss.
He's the Thanos of this show, then.
I guess so, in a way. Like, he very much puts the needs of the few far below the needs of the many, because he understands that sacrifices have to be made in order to make progress sometimes. And what's a handful of orphan children who are digging for dumpsters in the grand scheme of humanity? And it's like, sir! They are children.
Right.
But he doesn't care, because, again, it's like, yeah, but I am preserving future children, which, again, is why Brundred is such a fascinating character to me. Because it's like, yeah, he has no morality. He is an awful person. And yet, at the same time, you look at what he's doing, and you can't help but wonder, like, not if he's in the right, but necessarily, like, is there a better way to do this? Because the thing is that if you told the kids up front what they were going to be doing, which, by the way, is sending them into this elevator that sends them down to the 6th layer of the Abyss and then back up in order to study what exactly the loss of humanity details of the curse of the Abyss is.
And he does this to hundreds of children, and hundreds of children turn into blobs.
Yes.
By the way, I do remember that was the issue I had with the first movie, was the child labor and sacrifice. I remember that part. I did not like that part in the first movie, and I don't care for it in this one. But I think you did get a better sense of Reg and Rico.
Yeah.
You got a much better sense, because I think that was another piece that I didn't really like in the first one, was I didn't feel like you got a relatable, there wasn't a lot of connection with the characters. To me, there wasn't a lot of connection with the characters in the first one, but I think because we already had been exposed to these particular characters, we got a better sense of who they were in this one.
Yeah.
And then when they introduced, what was her name? Nanachi. Who was a really interesting character to me. I thought that her character was
you can actually
really complex.
You can actually kind of see Nanachi as sort of a failed protagonist in a sort of way. Because in a way, Nanachi and Mitty kind of are like foils to Reg and Rico. Yeah. Especially with Mitty's personality as a human, she was very much like Rico.
She was annoying. she was annoying. But yeah, I guess you're right. Darius and you guys didn't talk much. What are your opinions? And Darius is falling asleep, so.
Well, let's see, if I had to start, the artwork was good, like it was in the first one. Enjoyed the artwork, appreciate it, all the work that goes into that. The music that they played was good. Once again, no complaints there. Story-wise, it was better than the first movie. However, still not a fan of this series / movie. I don't think I'm ever going to be a fan. That being said, the whole elevator curse scene has been spoiled for me because of YouTube. But so I knew that was coming.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so that didn't have much of an impact on me. But yeah. That being said, once again, I'm just not a huge fan of this series. Not too much of it actually grabs my attention. Yeah, there were emotional moments. And that I can appreciate, sure, but
the whole gambler's fallacy didn't quite hit you, because at this point it was very much for me because it's like you look at all of this, you look at like Nanachi and Mini, and you look at the arm scene, and you're like, surely it can't get worse, and then you find out through the trailers for Dawn of the Deep Soul, which is the third one. In which morally ambiguous Subarashi man Bronzerood is the main villain of the entire movie, and also a major manga arc. And you're like, oh no. And then you see the comments, and they're like, oh yeah, anime only fans, you're in for a treat. It only goes downhill from here. And you're like, oh? In what way? And then it just keeps going. And then you watch season 2, and you're also just like, what did I just watch? And yet, why can't I stop watching? Because it's fascinating, and you want to know, because you want to see them, actually make it through, even though it's a little voice in the back of your head is saying, yeah, this isn't gonna work out as well as we think. And it's just yeah, but maybe.
No, maybe.
Actually,
no,
there is actually a quote that's actually from, it's actually from the second season, but I still feel like it actually fits here. Never to return, beyond the yearning for home. Within the true darkness, there certainly was a light that no one could find, but not a single person could take hold of it. The gold that was born of you is free from the yoke called value, and is now about to set off. Despite knowing that love itself is a curse, despite knowing that the path leads only to darkness, but that is probably why it is so very dazzling. And I feel like that kind of encapsulates the allure of Made in Abyss to me, is that despite all of the horrors and everything, because I do kind of it's fascinating because Riko goes for some horrible stuff, and yet she is still very much just her usual happy, energetic self. She understands the risk of what she's doing, and she understands.
Well, but can you talk about the motivation? So Riko's motivation.
Oh yeah, that is true. Riko's motivation is a bit odd because due to the fact that she was stillborn within the abyss, she had to be placed within this relic called the curse repelling vessel. It actually doesn't repel the curse, but instead will bring back anything that is put into it back to life. And whatever is brought back to life within it has this compulsion to go down to the bottom of the Neverworld.
No, but isn't the promise that she'll find her mother at the bottom?
Yes.
So
But remember too, because Ozen told her that that's what happened, and that's most likely what her driving motivation is.
Right.
We did also find out something else about the bottom of the Neverworld as well, during Nanachi's flashback section, which I think is very important to keep in mind as well, which is that it is said that whoever dies within the abyss, their souls go down to the bottom of the Neverworld, and then go back up when someone is, I believe it was when someone is in need of a second life or has a great desire to still live. I am wondering if maybe perhaps the reason why whatever is put inside the curse repelling vessel is essentially their soul gets yeeted out of their body when they die, and then when it comes back up, it can't get back to its own body due to the fact
to someone else's.
Either it goes someone else or it remains at the bottom of the Neverworld, which is why they're compelled to go back down. It's the host body looking for their soul.
No, but didn't we find out that the curse repelling vessel doesn't actually repel the curse?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry, Warren, go ahead.
I mean, it's been very interesting. Very emotional. Even if since I've seen actually the season, I still cried at some bits. Well, teed up, but yeah. Anyways, sort of, kind of just curious about seeing what happens next and all that kind of thing. I've seen, what was it, Dawn of the Deep?
Yes.
Dawn of the Deep
Yes.
Soul. That was a trip. But anyways, just the animation, the story, the music, all very well done.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it very much.
Do we have scores? Are we ready to score this one?
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, there was actually another theory type thing that I did have in mind.
Okay.
Which was essentially, could you see this as sort of like an allegory / extended metaphor? I don't remember the difference between the two. But basically, do you think like that the abyss could kind of like represent sort of that period between like late childhood, early adolescence, of where you kind of start to realize like that the world isn't as bright and innocent as you thought?
Oh, do you think that's why children are sent down?
Maybe.
Like,
Or at least like that's kind of like why, because it's kind of, it's like, like the like adult, because it's like, because like all of a sudden the adults around you that are suddenly supposed to like protect you are suddenly not there to really do that anymore, or at the very least they don't seem as strong as like you thought that they once were. You're suddenly becoming aware of all of the different horrors of the world, but you can't really like fully comprehend it. You just know that they're there.
Okay, that's deep. I don't know.
I did also have like another like question of it was, is Rico running away from that by just continuing to just go further into the abyss in that case, or is it a strength that she's still able to hold on to that innocence?
Dang. I don't know.
This is what happens when I watch Evangelion.
You got me. But these are good questions, and maybe you can ponder those questions and put them in the comments below.
Darius, give me your spud count, please.
4 out of 5 or 4 out of 10. Once again, artwork's good. Do like the artwork, music. Once again, I'm not a huge fan. This doesn't really grab me at most places. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not a fan of Made in Abyss. My score is going to be high about because of that. Admit bias there, but that's just me.
Okay.
I'm giving a 7 out of 10. And I enjoyed the stuff, but also it's very dark, and I really don't like dark anime. But my morbid curiosity is
getting the better of me.
Yes.
Brit.
I give this an 8. It is definitely, it's fascinating. Again, I wasn't expecting it to just jump immediately into the 4th layer. But I think I would have preferred the buffer of having at least a little bit more of the 3rd layer there. But I mean, it's still really good, and I do like the fact as well that they kept the entirety of the last section with the score tomorrow. But it's by Kevin Penkin. Really good. And that is probably one of my favorite sequences, at least from season 1. Season 2 also had some really good sequences too. The Prushka sequence from the movie is also just gorgeous. Emotionally damaging. But anyway, I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Johnny.
I think I would give it a 6. This one intrigued me more than the first one.
Not enough to keep going.
We'll see. But yeah, you do get a little involved more with the characters, like where they're going and what's happening, and you're like, oh my gosh, oh, what just happened? So yeah, you know, much better this time around, but still, I'm not an anime fan per se, but this one did intrigue me more. So yeah, about 6, I guess.
I'm a 6 too. I think it was way better than the first one. First one, I think I was, if I remember correctly, I was just mad and frustrated because I absolutely hated it. Didn't understand a lot that was going on. Didn't like the characters. Didn't care about them one way or the other.
Do you think it might have actually helped if you watched it dubbed?
I don't know. I don't know. But this one was okay. I didn't hate it, so that's good. That's progress. Anyway, so those are our scores, and you know, as always, these are our opinions. They are not facts, but I guess overall the movie was just to the group.
No,
There
except
were
for
some,
Brit.
right? Some of us who absolutely loved it. Some enjoyed it. And others of us were like,
suffering.
Right, a little bit.
To be fair, I was kind of under the impression that, like, it was very much going to be a lot more just, what are we watching? Why are you making us do this? As opposed to, like, just kind of just, like, yep, we're here. But then again, too, you guys did miss the arm scene, so that might have played a bit in it.
I didn't miss it.
Anyway.
Dad unfortunately didn't miss the arm scene.
Watch it for yourself. Tell us what you thought in the comments. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Till next time.
Spuds out.
Bye.
Bye.